Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Dom Sketchcast. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, welcome. If you're watching this on YouTube, welcome. This is primarily a visual show where I work on a piece of art while I talk. Stick around for a bit, watch me draw, and I will answer your questions. It's as simple as that. That's what we're going to do on today's episode. I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret about me and my process and how I do things. And that is, before every episode, I sit there sometimes for 30 minutes to an hour wondering what I can do to fuck my own process up. I try to figure out ways subconsciously for me to get out of doing this work, for me to get out of just showing up and doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing, because it's difficult. It's difficult in a way that I have trouble describing, but maybe some of you all can relate to it, where the difficulty for me with creativity and doing any sort of creative activity is having to reconcile the fact that I'm always coming up with new ideas and I'm seduced constantly by new ideas, new ways of thinking, new ways of solving problems, with actually having to go through and solve those problems. And what I mean by that is this. Art is problem solving. You're solving a problem. All different kinds of problems. For instance, if you just want to make a story about how your grandmother affected you, the problem there is, okay, how am I going to get this thought from my head out onto paper or to dance or to writing? That's a problem right there. You have to think to yourself, how am I going to answer this? How am I going to resolve this? So your brain is immediately doing calculations of, oh, it should be a drawing. Oh, it should be a painting. And there are different voices in your head that may be thinking, if you're a multi-talented person, multi-skilled person, you might be thinking, oh, actually, it's a song. Okay, well, if it's going to be a song, what kind of song should it be? I think it's going to be this kind of song. Oh, I think it should be an EDM track about my grandma. No, says the other voice. It should be a song written like a Simon and Garfunkel track. That's what it should be like. That would be really cool, right? A Simon and Garfunkel EDM track about your grandma. And now you're way down the path already. And what you've done right there, and what I've done many times, and what I do before every show, is talk myself down a path where nothing gets done because I'm paralyzed by all my choices. I'm paralyzed by what can be, and that's not a great way to problem solve. And since art is problem solving, you have to ask yourself the question very deliberately, and then you have to come up with an answer. But coming up with an answer is sometimes paralyzing for me because I come up with a lot of them. There are a lot of answers coming up from all different directions inside my head. And I think that's one of my greatest abilities, and also the thing that can potentially harm me the most is the fact that at any given point I am, if again we're thinking of art as problem solving, I'm thinking of so many problems, so many answers to a problem, so many ways that a problem can be solved in very novel, strange, interesting ways, each solution more interesting than the next. Sometimes me re-asking the question and inevitably making the question more complicated than it needs to be. For instance, what am I going to talk about on today's show? What kind of questions am I going to answer on today's show? Oh, I should answer the question this way. Oh, I should do it like this. Oh, I should do it like that. And Neil Gaiman's answer to this question is you just make good art. That's the only answer, is you just make good art. And that's what I'm attempting to do on this show, is be honest with you all about what's going on in my life and in my head, and that's what's going on today. For the past couple of episodes, it's been that way for me, where I'm just stumped every time I sit here to make something. I don't want any of you to think that if I fooled you into believing that this is easy for me, or that I just sit down and just do this every week, that is false. It's not easy. What's easy for me is coming up with different ways for me to change this format, do something completely different, and therefore screw myself over. Because the problem with new ideas and coming up with new novel solutions to everything over and over again is that you inevitably break this system. And if you break your own systems, that's a really good way to fuck yourself up. And here's an example of that. What if you're painting something like I'm painting right now, and you say, I'm only going to use 5 colors, or this is the goal. My goal is to draw my grandmother. And sometimes if your parameters aren't laid out well enough, you're going to get yourself in a position where you think, okay, if I'm drawing my grandmother, well, what kind of age is it? Like, well, what age is she? Blah, blah, blah. What is she doing here and there? And this is why we need restrictions for our problems. We need restrictions for the questions that we're asking ourselves. And I think that's one thing I'd like to advocate more for myself doing is I want to try to be a little more obvious and deliberate about what problem am I solving and why am I having difficulty answering some of these questions. What is so difficult about doing the same thing or sitting down and completing the process? Now, one answer to that question, what's difficult about that is I think that for me, it implies a sort of death. It implies the worst kind of thing if I have to think about doing the same thing over and over. If I have to think about drawing the same thing over and over, talking about the same topic over and over again, something that I'm not feeling, something that's not somehow true to me, then I feel like I'm just gonna be dying inside, and it's gonna be terrible and painful. And there have been so many videos that I made, so many drawings that I've made that just felt like I was just sitting at the keyboard and doing the same thing over and over again that perhaps I've done a million times before. And this is different from figure drawing or any sort of story creation. This is different from, what I mean is this is different from figure drawing and training. It's different from doing the stuff that is like going to the gym. Figure drawing, training yourself, doing color studies, that stuff is meant to be repetitive. But when I'm sitting down, I'm supposed to be doing something new and something that is a little bit fresh, that's supposed to be a little bit different. I have this discrepancy between the new and how to fulfill it. Once I've decided what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it, the part where it's like how I'm going to do it is subject to change, which is, it's okay. It's okay to have something be subject to change, but I think I usually give myself a little too much leeway in terms of how something gets done. So I'm way, way more comfortable breaking a process and then not necessarily having a solution for the process that I'm going to stick to. Now, there are some things that I've been good at historically keeping up with, like historically showing up and doing the same thing over and over again, like I'm doing right now. I'm in your ear, I'm in your home, you're listening to me. Eventually I did beat out the thing that made me not want to do this, and I don't know what that thing is. Maybe some of you have it. I'd be interested in knowing from you all if you also have this voice in the back of your head that, and it can sound like any number of things. Well, for me, it usually comes across as like this nervous feeling of, are you just going to be doing this for the rest of your life? What is it that you're even doing here? Why are we doing this again? Last week you said you were going to do this and you didn't do it. You didn't fulfill your obligations. What does that mean? A little bit of imposter syndrome, a little bit of, sounds like a creative advisor in the back of my head just screaming and being like, we didn't get it done. We're not doing it. What the fuck is going to happen next? I'd be very curious to hear from you all if you have these same sorts of issues. And if you do, let me know at ask@domrabburn.com. And that's the most pertinent thing that's on my mind right now. That's what I've been thinking about. Thinking about why I don't stick with my processes, thinking about what maybe why other artists might not do it, and maybe if we come to some kind of consensus, maybe if we talk about these things, it'll make it easier for us. Because I think the answer sometimes is just do it. The answer is sometimes make good art, and the answer is sometimes to sit there and have a long conversation with yourself about why you're even doing something. Like, is it for clicks? Is it because you feel it? If it's because you feel it, maybe you're not getting compensated the right way, and that makes you not want to do anything. Maybe you're depressed. You might be depressed. That's another option. And that makes you not want to do anything. It could be a big, huge number of things. What I'm designing here is a poster for a DSC show, a DSC fall lineup of new apparel, new print, new clothing, new stuff that's coming out. And perhaps now is a good time to remind you all the best way to support me. If you fuck with my stuff, if you're getting any sort of value out of this, the best way to support me right now is to go to domrabburn.com/shop. Buy a print, buy a shirt, buy some apparel, buy a Blue Cerberus shirt, perhaps from the apparel section. I got 2 hot prints up right now of Quaz, the portrait of Quaz from Bandana, Quaz and Freddie Gibbs. Also another portrait of JPEG Mafia. These are both selling pretty well. You guys seem to be liking it. You're sending me images of them, which is amazing. Thank you all. Go to domrabburn.com/shop. I liked what was going on beneath these layers right here. Almost better than what I was putting on there. For those of you who are just listening, I'm making a portrait, which is heavily based on the Blade Runner poster. I'm not at all ashamed to say that. It's based on the Blade Runner poster, and I'm trying to figure out what the color scheme is going to be, what it's going to look like, what the general feel or emotions of the drawing should be. Yes. Why, God, do I gotta suffer? I think in general, once I get started on a piece, and once I get started on just making the thing I'm supposed to be making, like I'm doing right now, and just start talking and just start moving, it all seems to come back to me. My drawing abilities, my talking abilities all seem to kind of flood back. And I think the great thing about just jumping in the deep end is you really have no choice. Now, of course, there are some downsides to just jumping in the deep end. If you just jump in, then there's a potential that you didn't really think over your actions. You didn't really think about what you were going to do. You just, by definition, you just jumped in. So not a lot of thinking going on, which is, again, I don't know. It depends on your demeanor. Sometimes it's a good thing to just jump into something, and sometimes it's not. But to reiterate my previous point, for me, I think I am prone to under preparing and under strategizing what I'm about to do. So that's the thing I'm trying to lean more into. But at the same time, not lean into it so much to the point where I'm sitting there for an hour before a podcast wondering what to do. I'm just being honest with y'all. What's going on with my piece? Photoshop crashing in the middle of a show. Photoshop. That's a sitcom. Photoshop.
What did I do this time? It's me, Photoshop.
You get the canned laughter from the audience. Photoshop, you're supposed to be fucking working.
Why don't you take a chill pill? It's just me, Photoshop. You've been working on the same drawing for 2 hours and you didn't save? So the fuck what? Eat my shorts.
Fuck you, Photoshop. Come on, man. Oh my god, do you all see this? I lost 3 layers of work live on this show. Great. I lost. Whatever. It's fine. I'll get over it. It's okay. Photoshop. And I'm usually a compulsive saver. I don't know what came over me this time. I was too busy talking about what makes me not want to work. This. Shit like this, Photoshop. You crashing on me. Shout out to anyone who has had Photoshop crash on them. Which I assume all of you who use Photoshop have had this happen to you. Piece of garbage. I liked how it was going too. Lame. Let's answer some questions. If you have questions, as a reminder, send them to ask@domraburn.com, ask@domrabrun.com. If you have a messenger, feel free to send them in your stead, because it's kind of dangerous where I live. In the house of dreams, in the realm of creation. It's kind of a rough place. So it's probably better if you send a messenger, because if they get eaten up or something, then it's not your fault to get consumed by a goblin. Yes. Yeah, I want this to be kind of a Star Wars ensemble thing. Let's answer a question. Radon X9, champion of the DSC community, member of the Discord. If you all want to be part of the Discord, which I think you all should be, click in the show notes below. Radon says, scenario. You can merge 2 different forms of art together to create something entirely new. Which mediums do you choose and why? Radon, thank you for asking that question via Twitter, which is pretty cool. Getting some Twitter questions as well. As well as the emails and the IG DMs and whatnot. Okay, Radon. Gave it some thought. And I think I want to merge the digital and the physical world. I want to include what we do in the 2D world digitally into our 3D corporeal blood bag, flesh and bone world. So therefore, I had 2 ideas which are kind of similar. Animation and sculpture. Some might say that this is just performative dance, or like maybe kabuki, like the Japanese art form, or is it No? I think it's called No, Noh, where they have the puppets that move around. Somebody confirm that for me. But that is technically moving sculpture. Puppetry itself could be considered moving sculpture. I think there could be a convincing argument made for that. Yeah, so moving animations in sculpture. For sure. I would give that a shot because I think what you would see is some kind of really impossible but beautiful sculptures that are just like moving. I mean, to see a giant bronze bull like the one on Wall Street actually moving and just charging its way around the city, that'd be pretty cool. Impaling people, being like, "That's what you get for rubbing my nuts. That's what you fucking get." For those of you who don't know, there's a bull in the New York Stock Exchange. It's a sculpture, and everyone always like rubs its balls or holds it or something, and I feel like I would want some revenge. So that'd be my first usage of that technology. Yeah, so moving sculpture, man-sized moving sculpture, and puppetry. Alternatively, I think sculpture and film. Sculpture and film, again, the 3D and the 2D might be cool because that would bring us a little bit closer to the types of movies that we've always wished existed, or at least I've always wished that existed. A sort of 3D world that you could live inside of. Like you go see Avengers and you're basically inside of the movie. You're inside of the action, or as close to it as you can possibly get in this reality. Sculpture and film. Okay, let's add some more color to this. A little bit more. I'm not looking for this to be perfect. I want to get paralyzed by ideas. But what this poster is going to look like is an ensemble Star Wars Blade Runner-ish thing where it's me and all the characters I've created for DSC Phase 3 or whatever you want to call DSC's current incarnation. Let's answer another question from Anthony Anderson KJ from Twitter. Anthony asks, what are your favorite pieces of art from before the 20th century? I had some time to think about this because honestly, I had to refresh myself on what the 20th century was. I thought it was, well, I won't get into that. But the 20th century is everything before 1901. I have two things. I'm going to include music in this as well. The 3 Gymnopédies by Erik Satie. If you've never heard of that, it's I'm not even going to sing it to you. If you don't know what it is, look it up. And the second thing that I don't know if it really counts, but King Tutankhamun sarcophagus. King Tut sarcophagus. Beautiful piece of art, beautiful work of art by a pharaoh. Made in year 78. I don't know what, it was some kind of AD. My guess, let's do this right now. Let's play a little game. My guess is that King Tutankhamun sarcophagus was made in, oh man, this is tough. Because I don't know if it's AD, actually. Is it? Yeah, it's definitely AD. I'm going to say King Tut sarcophagus is from the year 650 AD. That's when it was made, around that time. Tutankhamun. Wow, King Tut died in 1325 at age 18. Damn, King Tut was just on his IG, sitting there on his phone. Fucking died, man. Yo, R.I.P. King Tut. Zoom in on that. Damn, that is so fucking cool. Whoa. His beard wasn't even that long in real life. His beard wasn't that long. All right, let's answer one more question, and then we're going to skedaddle. One more question from Dan James, who sent a piece of art. Beautiful piece of art. Dan James has redone his avatar, and he's looking kind of like the Murakami designed Dropout Bear from Kanye West music circa Homecoming. Or was it Graduation? One of those albums. But I like the little eyes you got going on. Beautiful drawing. Very cool, Dan James. Dan says, "Sup, Dom?" And I guess he's actually entered my realm. He's entered my zone. So Dan says, "Sup, Dom, if you could create a digital space for yourself, what would it look like? What's its lore?" I don't know why you're talking this way, Dan James. I don't know why you have all these weird all caps to smaller letters going on. But I'll answer your question. My own digital space. This is something I'm working on. Oh, yawn right into the mic because it's my show. Okay? Create a digital space for myself. What is its lore? I'm going to give you a little taste. Since you asked one of the special questions, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I've been working on. What you see right here on your screen, Dan James, is a design of my room, or this would be like my apartment. I've been designing my digital space. I've been designing the apartment that I would live inside of in this digital world, this house of dreams that I've been creating, which is linked to all the other rooms I've been creating, along with all the artists who've been on DSC. Whenever I'm on this show, whenever I have people on this show, I always ask them this question about what their zone would look like. So I answered it for myself, or I'm trying to answer it for myself. What you're seeing right here is, if you look at this white shape, which I'm going to capture, which one is it? Yes, it's this one. So imagine this is a 2D plane. It goes left to right. It doesn't go front or back because it's going to be easier for me to animate it this way or draw it this way. This is the prototype. This is the first time I'm showing this publicly. The prototype of what my space would look like once again. So you enter through the red door, and I'm standing here. I hang up my cloak and my helmet, whatever the fuck, and then I move to the left. There's Anxiety Berry sitting on the couch watching TV. I might talk with her, get into an argument, ask her what she got into that day, what she stole, or whatever. If she got into any fights, that sort of thing. Maybe she tells me to fuck off, whatever. We exchange words. It's cool. Blah, blah, blah. Walk to the left some more. And once I step past this threshold right there, right here, it's kind of a different addition to the apartment. It's almost like I've skipped a portion of time. You know it's the same place, but it has changed a little bit. It seems kind of like a different aspect or view of the realm, even though it's still 2D and moving in the same spot, moving in the same direction. I might go here and Memory Red would be hanging out. Now let's draw her. Let's draw Memory Red right here. Memory Red might be right here, arms crossed, doesn't want to speak to me because there's not a quest happening, or maybe I didn't fulfill one of the requirements. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. Go back this way. There's a TV in front of you, so that's blocking me, blocking Anxiety Berry, so it's right in front of you, and it's clear that we're able to watch TV here. You see a couch. Maybe there's some art in the background. So I keep moving back past the threshold, past some simple chairs or something, past the wall of skulls and helmets that I use to interact with the world, interact with my spells and whatnot. Travel past this threshold, and then all of a sudden, perspective has changed. If I go up these steps right here, that you see, that goes up to my room, my actual bedroom, or maybe there's another level to this apartment that I haven't really designed yet. Or this door right here is a guest room where the dead king is sleeping, as he usually is. Go past this point, and you go to the bathroom and the kitchen, which I have not designed. But that's the answer to your question, Dan James. This is my realm. That's where I want to be, and that's kind of how I plan my digital space being. So it'll be exciting to see what I come up with, how this thing evolves. The same way I'm excited to show you all what happens with this poster. Yo, what up, King Tut? What up? Thank you all for the pertinent questions. Thank you for showing up, listening to this show, or watching it. Thank you for being creative and sharing your ideas with me, sharing everything, whatever's happening in your life, sharing whatever you're drawing. If you draw along to this show, as I know a bunch of you do, because you tell me that, go ahead and send me your drawings at ask@domrapper.com. I'd love to feature them on here, chat about them. If you have a puzzle, a riddle, any sort of quest you want to put me through, that sort of thing, to get some XP, I'll do that as well. Or if you want a quest from me, I don't know, ask@domrapper.com, see what happens. Maybe you have a question for Anxiety Barrier or Memory Red or the Dead King. You can ask them as well, and they will probably answer you. Who knows? Ask@domrapper.com. Do not forget, the best place to support me, head over to domrapper.com/shop. Buy a print, buy a shirt. All of it goes to me. It helps a good cause, which is creativity and an artist who is very indecisive sometimes. But I did it. I did the thing. I created this episode that you're watching and listening to. I am looking forward to seeing you all next week on this show. And don't forget, here on DSC, if you haven't subscribed, we have stuff going on during the week usually. Like an episode of How to Draw is usually coming up. There's things happening on my IG at DomRabrun, DOMRABRUN. Follow me on there if you're not doing that as well. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. Be creative. Do something.